up close and personal, right here with Alicia and Swan. Of course, you know, Swan, all our success in our career, we owe it to Swan. You know, whenever we were at our peak, whenever we had momentum, how we got to CEO, how we got to everything. When Swan talked about the CEO Club yesterday, when he launched that, John's the one that hit it first. We promoted that year. Within a period of 18 months, my organization went from 12 people to 267 people at the convention. And right after the convention, we become CEO team. So when he launches an event, a program, you know, you got to pay attention and you got to really embrace it. But more importantly, you got to buy in and you got to implement it at the speed of instruction. I think somewhere along the way we lost some of that, you know. And it's good to be back working close with Swan, and of course now we get a chance to have the next generation of Alicia here. You know, we saw her, you know, pass down the meetings, you know, growing up, and she was always loud. She always had the personality, you know. We always thought she was going to be the one, because the other two, the boys, Nick and Justin, they're more quiet. But Alicia was definitely the center of attention and all that. She was at a very young age. So we got a chance to ask some questions and stuff like that and kind of get into a little bit more depth.
Alicia was 6 years old, and I knew someday she'd be our upline. And that someday is today. Where did the time go?
Well, it's now in public. Because she's been an airplane for a while.
Anyway, I remember I was a record trainee for a couple of years in my career. Anybody here setting records or being trainee or associate or record breaker? So I remember the first time I ever met Swan was up in San Jose. I remember it still like it was yesterday. We were at my upline, which is Tam Lung, and he brought me up. You know, he went up for a leadership meeting, and you know, he brought me up there because he told me I was superstar. And he would say that for 2 years, and I got to the point where I was embarrassed because you can't be a superstar, a trainee superstar for 2 years. So I figured out that I was a superstar because I have nobody else to call superstar. I was the only hard-headed guy left in the organization. So he brought me up because he had to bring one special team member, and I was it. He didn't have a choice. So he brought me up, and I remember standing next to Swan, and they were having a conversation. And you know, I'm 2 years in the business, and I know Swan how big he is already at that time. And I just remember Swan looked over and said, "Hey, Tam, who you know, introduce your team member." And I was a nobody. I mean, like that small, right? But he took out the time to talk to me and, you know, get to know me, and then after that, I don't get to know Swan for another 2 years. Another 2 years because then my upline disappeared, and I never had an SMD, and then somewhere along the line, I reached up and got his coaching, and in 18 months I went from SMD to the equivalent of EVC today in 18 months. Lives can change if you have the right mentor and you have the right system that you're going to follow. And I told Swan, I think I told him a couple of times, I've seen many systems, many programs. God knows, I have like 1,000 shirts. Some of them you'll see in the people. We would give away old shirts or old systems to charity all over the world. But I told Swan, I said, this, of all the programs we have, I truly believe that the GX program will not only dominate the industry, it'll dominate WFG, but it'll dominate the industry. I truly believe that. The next 3 to 5 years, to 10 years is going to be, I can't even envision what's going to happen. So today we want to get into the mindset of both Alicia and Swan. And Alicia, has been in the business since she was 6 years, all her life. But I watch her and how she talks and how she thinks, and she's a part of the millennial generation. So her thought process is very different. But as a builder, Swan and Alicia is the same. There's no difference in that kind of thinking. So I'm excited for everybody, that's running the system. And then also, reality set is that this is the time in Swan's life where I think you answer a question somebody asked, and was it last night? Sometime you said, what are you going to do at your age? You travel the world, eat the best food, stay in the best hotel, make more money than you can ever spend. Expecting to sit in the beach and drink pina colada? What are you expecting to do? And I just think that this is the best time of his life in terms of knowledge, experience, and he's desperately trying to pass it on to the rest of us. And so we've got to take this opportunity to learn as fast as we can. Do you want to go first? Ask your first question.
When you asked that question, remember we asked him that question way back, a long time ago. He goes, Armando, he said, if I wasn't here working with you guys at my age, I'd be at home arguing with Bob, clipping my toenails. You remember that? So many memories. Let's start, all right? Alicia, I'll ask you the first one. When did, by the way, when Alicia talks about she's a 73-year-old, she really is, because if you listen to her, you hang around with her, she really has, for a young woman, she has a lot of wisdom already. Yeah. So she doesn't talk like she's only been in the business, 12 years or 10 years, whatever it is she's been. She really talks like she's been in this thing her whole life, so young. So the osmosis has really worked, When did the business become your business? When did you take ownership of the business instead of it being your parents' business?
I don't even know. Do I have ownership now? No, just kidding. Let me think. So, I remember, let me think. Maybe you might know the answer. I don't even know. Well, I know by the time after 1 year in the business, and I make 100,000, but at that time I go make 100,000 and, I was still living downstairs, and at that time I don't go to the office every day, so I was and if you know me, growing up, I am not a morning person. I am getting better now, but in college, the earliest class I took was 10:15, and I would still be late to that class, okay? I would even be late to 11 o'clock class. No matter what time my day started, I would always love to sleep in. So I remember making 100,000, and I would just not get to the office until some days it's 12, some days it's 2 p.m., just whenever I felt like it, basically. But I did start to lose momentum for a few months. And I remember somehow, probably going upstairs to eat breakfast with my mom and dad. And I think my dad said something like, how do you expect to be successful? You're like a restaurant that nobody knows what time is open. Some days it's open. Some days it's open 11 o'clock, some day open 2 o'clock, some day open 3 o'clock. You think any restaurant's gonna be successful like that? Oh. And after that, I started to try to go at 9 o'clock. And I was still late in the first few months. I tried to get there, and I get there 9:23, sometimes I get there 9:15, sometimes I get there 9:12, and it took me months to get the habit of getting there 9 o'clock every day. And eventually I did. Today, I would say I'm trying to get actually to 8 o'clock now. I'm trying to push it earlier. But I think really I can't give a specific moment as to like how I took ownership, but I just started observe. That was the first one, was just my own base shop, my own numbers and everything. And then slowly over time, I am still even subconscious today about, do people think my thoughts are my own opinions, or if I am just a messenger of Swan Win, right? And so what I try to do over time is try to take ownership of what I can. So for example, it started with my own base shop and, me growing to, S&D and 100,000 and CEO and EBC and whatnot. But then after that, I started to notice, okay, how can I contribute to the office, to the BPM? So I like the MC, but to be honest, I felt like I could do a little bit better. So I started to become MC, and then I started to become a trainer, I started to become a presenter. And then I eventually was one of the ones that started planning all the office BPM. After I did that, then I said, how can I help out the local events? Like if you observe just even this event alone, there's so many things to do. Somebody has to print even your name and tape it on the chair. Somebody has to set up the AV. Somebody has to do registration. So slowly, just from one event at a time, I try to, volunteer to take over those things. And so that's how eventually, it was tough. Not everybody's ready to let go. Like my mom, there was a few things with the office and the conventions that she was definitely not ready, but in the end it all worked out, even though there was some tension sometimes. One example of tension would be like, my mom is a fan of paper tickets, and I really pushed for a barcode. And we would go back and forth, like, because for her, paper tickets you could sell bulk up front, so you get more people to commit. But barcode, nobody really buys 10 barcodes. They only register one at a time, right? But then it would be a whole bunch of back and forth. We would never know how many people was really coming and blah, blah, blah. So long story short, eventually I was able to convince her why it was easier. It took over, and now she's retired today. But I think, I think ownership, you gotta just take, not one day you could. Last thing I'll say is this. I think a lot of time, especially new team members come in, and they just want to make a judgment right away, like, your guy's not professional enough, or this meeting could be better, why we can't understand that person, they don't speak English, or whatever, and they want to come into the BPM and dictate right away, without actually being patient and contributing before criticizing. So, to me, nobody is perfect, including your trainer, your upline, but instead of always finding the wrong thing about him or her, why don't you be patient and you grow yourself first, and then you contribute to whatever you think you can help out. You contribute to what you think you can make it better. And instead of just focus on their weakness, praise them for their strength, and then you become the bridge of their weakness. So that is my version of ownership.
Well, this is Alicia question, but I want to use opportunity to address that things. I mean, in terms of ownership, not only Alicia have that challenge and understand about ownership, but 100% of the people come to this business, they have a problem of take ownership of their own business. You see, you look at behavior of a new person who joined the business. I mean, we talk about business, but none of these people really have an ownership mindset thinking when they get to a business. Other business, you put out the money, the big money, you own it. You put $1 million, you have to have that ownership. So that's why I felt like, this is very critical that we're gonna be able to make people to understand that they are in the business, and they are independent contractor, they are entrepreneur, they are the owner of their business early on. Unfortunately, they get to the system and they have to learn the system. Had every one of you come in here and pay $100,000 to join, and you will own your business, you will listen very carefully, you're gonna show up early and ready to learn. You probably, you will be like every other owner out there who put out $1 million to buy the McDonald's, and even though you're a brand new person, but you're subject your tears, you learn like an owner, you experience like an owner, you make mistake like an owner, but that's the challenge that most people don't have. So it doesn't mean that you are a Sun Win daughter, you live with him for all her life, and then share ownership right away. It's a process, and it's a long process. You know, I have this message to some of the people who they work. We have a legacy program, right? So a lot of people think that, well, I earned, I code, and someday when I die, I pass to my kid. Well, what your kid gonna do? Some of your kids don't know how to spell recruit. So even big leaders still have no idea what ownership is. For me to really tell Alicia to do this thing, she had to earn it, she had to prove it, she had to go through incredible challenge of the ownership. She is subject to a lot of scrutiny, she had to, because our business is very difficult than other business. And I'm talking about Alicia, many of you here, have you really taken ownership of your business at all? And the day that you take ownership, that you're gonna perform at a different level, you have a different vision of your business, and absolutely, you're gonna think hard about what you do. And you know what? You are going to be a lot easier to work with. And if you're the owner, you probably feel and understand your so-called upline better. I go to the bathroom all the time in a public place, and I see guys in a restaurant or whatever, and I see a guy who go out grab the paper towel. Some guy, all you need maybe 2 pieces. Some guy get about 5-10 pieces and watching to throw it away. I know this guy never opened a business before, because when he used something public, he wasted. But he didn't know the pain of the owner, that they just have to pay for this, right? So, I think, for you to really, really do this thing, you had to own your business. You have to own your action. You have to own your mistake. And simply, when people start complaining about others, they didn't really own anything, because somebody owned them. So just like they always complain about somebody else, you're not complaining, not looking through the mirror as an owner, as an entrepreneur, to fix yourself. So for Alicia, I know that the task of me. I cannot say that, hey, this code for you, you take over and you make million. Wow, that's, I work hard for this, and this is your deal now. I think I'm gonna ruin her. I destroy her, and I'm gonna make a shame of herself, because every time she goes in front of you, and she deep down, she knows that she didn't earn it. It's good won't be good. So she and Andrew, her husband, have to prove. It's not easy. I know it's not easy to be Sun Win daughter or whatever, Sun Win leader either. Because I tell you, this is not an easy business. Why? Because it's a big business. It's a big business. It's a very big business. We're going to $1 billion, we're going to go $2 billion. We will be as big as any company out there. We are the new industry. In the early days, people like us fight for survival, make some money part-time. That little small business mindset, small business mentality, a lot of us don't even have small business mentality. We act like a bunch of small downline. That's the difference between a small business owner versus a bunch of small downline. You see, behavior, the majority of people in WFG, all over the place, not just team or other team or whatever. You go outside this room, anywhere you go, you see people don't take ownership of their action and their business. They need often to be reminded, they often to be motivated, wait for motivation unless they do something. The act of only do something when you run for something, run for promotion, and depressed after that is not the behavior of an owner. So it's an act of people constantly need motivation. I know these people are not on the business. How many people out there, in million people, open business in the world? Who motivate them? True owner is that you take ownership for you every day. And you know your business not always go good. In fact, you own a lot of challenge and you overcome it. And you, the one who really become, in fact, not only you motivate yourself, but you be an inspiration to other people in your organization, or people who work for you, your employee, or people who work. So that's where you begin to take ownership, right? So, yeah, I mean, I let Alicia work with me for like 13 years, and then eventually I share, some of you maybe look to the little bit and you see that that's 25%. So far, after 13 years, she earned like 25% of ownership. You follow me?
So Alicia, Swan sending to you that another 39 years, you get the other 75 years.
So, actually just recently, she showed that she be good, so now she is 50, just recently. But I want to tell you, is that fair for you to have someone who gonna lead this organization and they don't earn it? They don't work hard for it. They just take things like an ATM machine. I don't have that mentality. I don't think she does. So I tell you, for many years now, even during COVID, I guarantee you, she owned the business, she earned it, because I watched her during COVID. She never missed a day, during the whole COVID, a day at the office. Even the whole office, you walk in and Andrew walk in and empty. Everybody stay home. But her and her husband and a couple of staff always there round the clock during the hardest of times. So anyway, that ownership is something that you have to, first of all, if you don't own, if you don't have that in your heart first. First of all, you have to own your time, you own your goal, you own your mission. You have to have a clarity, and you own you take responsibility, which means ownership. And the minute someone takes responsibility, and the ownership also, you do more than others. And I tell you, I'm not here to praise her. I mean, around people work with her knows. I mean, it's. I have a different standard, and I know I'm a difficult guy. Leadership is a hard job. It's not a very popular job. But you know what? You talk about the responsibility of 100,000 people on your shoulder is a different deal. You know? And here we are, the guy, people like us. And I talk about me, but you don't think about you. We are the gift that we receive that rarely people have. You have to understand that we don't have money on the corporate. You know what? You look at me and John and anyone you here do. We're entrepreneurs. We make do what we have. I don't wait for a provider. I don't wait for a corporate. I don't wait for anybody. I will ask myself, do I own my business? And I will make do with anything in my hand, in my wallet, in my time. You know? I own everything I do. You know, the buck stopped here. The home office gotta know that. You know, all the problem of Sun Win organization will stop right here. And of course, you know, I will not let you, home office know that I don't call and whining and crying with any one of them. But the minute I have some issue, I'll pick up the phone, then you better listen. But I take care of my business, I take care of my challenge, I take care of my problem, I take care of my own meeting, I take care of my own prevention, I do anything in my own power to get that ownership of my business. And I want you to think about that too, because you have that thinking in your head, you're gonna be by itself. Now you own this thing. You're proud of what you do, and you're not only, ownership, including leadership, including entrepreneurship, including a lot of things that make you confident and people can feel it. Okay? So ask yourself if you really own this business. And people will love to be around people who own your business like yourself. Right?
I just have a quick comment about Alicia. You know, for Alicia, being Swan's daughter is even tougher because she had to prove herself 3 times over, just because she's Swan's daughter. If she was somebody else, she may not have to prove to the field force as much. You follow me? And to that, I remember watching her, you know, the last 2 years, she stepped up and took over the role. And I told the leadership, I said, you know, she is not the little girl that we used to know. Because every time I look at Alicia, it reminds me she's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years running around Hawaii, beating around us. I said she earned her spot, and I distinctly remember talking to the leader. I said, you know what, she's going to have to work 2, 3, 4 times harder than anybody else just to get the same respect. And I think she done an incredible job. Yeah. But anyway, I want to ask you a follow-up question on, you talk about ownership, and maybe the both of you. You talk about ownership, you talk about taking responsibility. I think that's a very deep topic because it's so easy for somebody to not take responsibility. But yet they want to be a leader, but you know, if something goes wrong, they'll say, you know, it's because of, and they don't take responsibility of their own self, the size of the team or whatever. How do you coach us about that kind of mentality? What do you say to that? You know, somebody that, and then they want the business, they're trying to build it, but everything sometimes goes wrong, and things do go wrong in the business. And instead of taking full ownership, full responsibility, they will either complain or they blame. And I think you mentioned a little bit of that about event and stuff, but maybe dive deep into the business itself. How does it affect the team? How does it affect the future of your growth and all of that stuff? Anything else you can?
talking.
Because that's what she drives this thing, in negotiation. I put that thing on her, so go ahead. Well, what I say, you wanna, first of all, maybe I do this and then you know because I passed the execution on the most of the mundane thing, the practical part, want to train her, but actually for her to take over and also to execute, because you know my relationship to Alicia right now is that pretty much she will take over almost now. She take about 90% of my local business, and she leave me that 10% to so that I can have the 10% part, which is she grow into. She grow into the 90% where in fact, she take over the home office. She take over all the staff. They take over all the provider. She now take over the home office too. Okay, so it's part of the and she do almost 90+% everything we do. She in the Titan program. She run everything. In the convention right now, Alicia, even a big convention in the Vega, in Dallas we do. She run the whole thing. She just say, your time is this from this to this. That's all. So you give but the thing is that, so what I'm saying that in the past 4 or 5 years, the discipline, the focus is what we need. We know that we need to do, especially the discipline and focus can go downhill, and in fact, it's actually the real number one problem with this business boil down to word discipline and focus. You know, not the system, because the system is perfect, not the product, because we have plenty of great product, not a commission, because we have the best commission in the world, but it's an issue that is so intangible, because we can talk about it all day long, but how we apply that. So that's why the daily routine, even though I say, Alicia, we're going to need to get this thing done, but we discuss about, but who's going to execute that? So that's where Alicia and Andrew and also some of the leaders agreed to begin to work on that daily thing. And they have to do it first. You guys have to systematize this so-called system of discipline and the system of focus. Because a system we run, how we can run any system, like McDonald's system or whatever, without a high level of discipline. And how you can run a franchise or a system, any system, can you distract it when you run that thing? A system is simple. The main purpose of system is to focus into what you do with the system. But it's easy to say that. And I know that at our level, if we don't do that, how the SMB level at your local office, if we here at the top tier, we cannot have a high level distance. So that's where we talk about at 8 o'clock, about the daily bubble chart, and starting the morning with the emotional goal and things like that. So that's where all of that was work in the past many years. And also we begin to discipline and focus, including license. At least I'm working on all the licensing class for you guys, you know, and including organize all the presentation, all the workshop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all those stuff to be able to make people focus on that and discipline. Because the killer of our business is so many leaders is mentally they're undisciplined and also they unfocused up here. And they understand the business at a lower level, and at a higher level, how we're gonna be able to systematize a big company. Because I know that you get the capacity. You know, John, you will reach to that level and you plateau. Not because your lack of hard work or abnormal, because the rank and file, the business, the team you build at this moment, they are that level of discipline and focus. Let's say you rank from 1 to 10, your organization is in this level of discipline and focus at 2.5. That's all you can get to. Okay, maybe you can get to about 300,000-400,000 points a month, and that's probably you can only because the level of that is that low. It's just like you compare the discipline of a McDonald's versus that Dairy Queen, a franchise, or John Pham too. I mean, let's say you're 3 point out of 10. That's where you can get. You know, you don't hope they're going to change unless you can raise the bar. So those are the things. So can you know, and I see there's a lot of leaders get to maybe 5, you know, whether it's a penny oil, a rocket sheet, they get to that. It's not, the leader is bad. But a whole team level of discipline focus up to like, let's say penny oil have 5 points out of 10. And that's, you get to that level, but now she struggled to move up. You following? She need to have an explosion, have to change everything. So it's easy, you have a vision, a mission, but how you apply that? And that's what her job in the past few years is a pretty tough job to turn that concept into practical use.
Okay, can you switch to Elmo, please? So I think before, from what I understand, the question is like how to coach somebody when they are in the blaming stage, basically. So I think before we even get to that stage, we can do something to prevent it. We could try. So for example, like even James asked me yesterday at dinner, how do you motivate the people that feel discouraged about GX because they are too far from 315 or something like that? So I said that we have to get out. First of all, we are not in the motivation business. We have to get out of the motivation business. We are in a business. We're in financial education business. We are in, financial services business. So when we understand that, then that's why it's not even a debate whether what time we need to go to the office. And if every time you bring to me, well, what about my little kids? I gotta drop them off or whatever. Well, what about people that have to work in corporate America? So I want to ask you first is that, there's a difference of when you are self-employed versus you're a business owner. And most people in WFG, when they become full-time, they just always act like, I'm the boss, whatever. And that's why they are unpredictable, they don't take ownership, they don't think that they are a business owner. So I understood very early on in the business that I don't know if he's going to guarantee to give me the business, but, I know for sure I have to earn it. So to be honest, very early on, I knew that number one, I have to prove myself. That's why my first 5-6 years was purely focused on growing my own team. And then I have to learn the second part of the last 5-6 years is me, trying to take over everything else to prove myself. So for me, I honestly thought of myself like I'm making $20-30 million already 10 years ago. That's how I go to work. And today, I even talked to Andrew like 1 or 2 weeks ago. I said, doesn't matter how much the income increase, we're going to keep our expenses low, and I want to turn our family into $100 million or $1 billion family. So that's how I go to work right now. I don't go to work as if I'm making $1 million right now. But I agree with my dad that even at $1 million, we're totally overpaid. But anyway, so that's how, for me, the discipline already starts because that's how I see myself. So to me, going to office every day, doesn't matter how much I make, I still, if I want to make 100 million, or I want to make $1 billion, it's no question I have to be at the office by 8, 9 o'clock every morning. If I got little kid stuff to figure out, I have a 9-year-old son, I got to figure it out. We're going to drop him off earlier, pay for the extended care in the morning, we're going to hire a Vietnamese uncle to drive him, we're going to find a carpool, whatever we need to do, but I'm not going to let it be my excuse to be unpredictable. But I think, it actually started, with that story that I told you when I made 100,000 and my team started to have lots of momentum, because I saw that people would declare to go full-time in my bake shop, and then when I wasn't even coming to the office every day at 9 o'clock, I'm on note, then what do I expect of my team? And I felt so much responsibility of, at least for me, technically, at 23 years old, making 100,000, I live with my parents. If I mess up, it's okay. I'm not married, I don't have kids, and money's not really a problem. I don't have bills to pay. Does that make sense? But I had people who had little kids, who had mortgages, and they declared to go full time, and they were nowhere to be found. So I tell everybody that if you're going to go full time, don't plan to go full time unless you plan to go to the office every day before 9 o'clock.
Hey.
He would say 8 o'clock, because I'm still nice. But yes, I'm learning that to be 8 o'clock.
The other 50% waiting for you.
Yeah, I know.
9 o'clock, you got 50.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get to 8 o'clock. And that's why I can't say it strongly yet, right? So, 8 o'clock. No, but seriously, I see so many people, they say they're going to go full time, and actually they just become full time. They become an Uber driver, they become a house cleaner, they become a babysitter. And that's why when Ricky told me he's full time, but he don't even do 315, I said, you're not full time. What do you do if you are really focused every day in the business? Every morning you are there by 8 o'clock, and you're doing your guidebook, you do your bubble chart, you set your appointment. How can you not do 315? So even if Marsha can do 315 on a part-time basis, why not a full-time S&D or a full-time MD? So that's number one, is that your personal discipline of just even showing up. Okay? Now the second one is that so you have to create that culture of showing up and having the whole office show up. Now, our office is still not perfect, even though we have probably over 100 S&Ds just in our office. I can only confidently say there's only about 15 to 20 that really show up every morning by 8, 9 o'clock. So growing the full-time field force is not easy, but somebody still has to have the discipline to start it and to do it. Now, after all the guidebook, so when I said that, after we showed you the guidebook yesterday, because the most common question I get is, well, when I get to the office at 8 o'clock, what am I going to do? Let me ask you, when you see the guidebook yesterday, don't you think that there's too many things to do? Don't you realize that every single bubble on your bubble chart, you have not done enough. You have not dropped by enough. You have not fast start enough. You have not done enough process on them. There's so many that you have let slip through your finger because of your lack of discipline and focus. Right? Because you have not, how many people you still do pre-licensing? Or like Maurice say, how many people you didn't do join on share? How many people you didn't do share list with them? So if you realize that's how much work you have to do, that's why you want to get to the office 8 o'clock, or my dad before is 7:30. Okay? So that's where we can change the culture from a motivation business to a business ownership. And instead of motivation, we can change it to discipline, because you started first. You don't have to, to me, James, I don't motivate anybody. I just show them what I do. I show them that I go to the office by 8 o'clock every day. I show them that I open my bubble chart, I open my guidebook. That it's up to them to follow me or not. If they just want to go listen to podcasts and YouTube and try to think of that as how to do the business, then that's on them. But I show them the way. Right? And I show them with the guidebook and everything that that's how to do it. So to me, we can change the language by instead of motivating people, hey, you should do 315, you're gonna make money, whatever, say, hey, I can call each and every one. I say, Eileen. Instead of don't even talk about motivation, just like, Eileen, I see based on our guidebook, this is what we need to do today. Hey, Payan, I see that you just have, Jessica joined. We need to do this and that. Or Alex, hey, we have this prospect you wrote down. Her name is Sarah. When is the last time you talked to Sarah? We have to do, have we tried giving a brochure? Have we tried giving a flyer? So it's not about motivation, it's about going straight to work. That's what I want to change in WFG, number one. Okay? And then number two, I would say that you have to have strong emotional goals. So my dad, talked about this a few years ago, and he basically said that a lot of times, we always talk about the business, we talk about title, like, oh, I want to run for CEO, I want to run for cash flow, like, I want to make a $500,000, but we're not able to articulate what that money would do for our family. Does a title change really matter? Your brother doesn't care if you're a CEO or S&D or EVC, right? Your kids don't care about that. They want to know how does it change your family? So do you have not just goals, but emotional goals? Goals that when you read it, it makes you cry. It makes you emotional. Okay? So for example, here's mine. I'll start off with mine first. And you have to read it every day. So, first and foremost, I choose to do this for myself. I want to be here. I want to be somebody, and I choose this as my purpose. That's my first one I want to say to myself, because everybody will always tell me I don't have to be here, or I'm doing this because I'm Swanwin's daughter, or whatever. No, I tell myself every day, I don't have to. My dad gives me the choice to do whatever I want, actually. When we were little, he offered me a Subway franchise, I said, no, thank you. So he did offer all of us to do whatever we wanted. Any other business or any other career, any school, but I tell myself, I know this is what I want to do. I'm not here for my dad, I'm here for myself. Then number two, of course though, I can't be here without them, so I do want to honor their legacy. And I want to continue everything they have built for the last 38 years. Okay, so I will continue that for them. Number three, I want to bring our team to a 20 billion company by 50 years old, which is in 2037. Okay, so I don't want to be seen as somebody that just inherited something. I want to show that I contributed myself. That's why I have to have a huge goal. Right? But I know 50 years old is too far, so I have to do something in the next 1 to 2 years. So that's why I have to have that number by 2024, 1 billion. Okay? And if you notice, I'm not even reading it on the screen. I can look at you and I know what I wrote down. Why? Because I read it every day. I memorize it already. Next one, as I said, I want to be able to donate. I want to put a percentage so that if I make 100 million, and I say I'm only going to donate 500,000, it looks too small. So I said I'm going to donate a percentage every single year to charity. And I would love that in my lifetime, when I'm on my deathbed, I can say I have at least 100 different projects I contributed to. Whether it's scholarships, water project, orphans, anything, just 100 different ones. And next one is I want to keep our promise to our team members, stay by their side. So this is something I learned from this is actually when Andrew came to ask my dad permission to marry me. My dad only said one thing. He said, do you understand you're not only marrying to our family, but you're marrying into over 20,000 families. So that was the way my dad started our marriage. So we know that we have a responsibility ever since those day one. Okay? And then I just want to be an example of kindness, humbleness, be positive. So that's an example. At the bottom I have action plans, etc. But I want to share with you, I'm not the only one, okay? So we have our team members do this. We have our team members do this, so I just give you some other examples. You could make it pretty, you could make it look with pictures to remind you. This is one of our team member, Alicia Cruz. You know, she said, I want to support Sally's cancer medication. She needs $2,000 a month to do that. Retire her husband from work, February 2025. Save $100,000 for each child by senior year. Give $1,000 monthly to her parents. Renovate the home, make it a rental property by end of this year. Then buy a modern home in Burlingame. This is what they'll need for that. Travel the world with children, 1 to 2 countries a year. Debt free with $250K liquid by end of next year, and become financially secure. So most people, when I ask them their goals, is very generic. Oh, I want to be financially independent, or oh, I just want to, I want to be debt free. Write it down and put dates. And if you actually read that every day, you're going to think totally different about how you go to work. Right? You're not going to have to wonder, oh, should I do 3:15? You're not going to be like, oh, I feel sad today because they didn't pick up my phone call. Right? You're going to make things happen. So this is another example from one of our CEO, Alejandra. She says she wants to retire young to travel the world with her family. She wants to give $5,000 a month monthly to her parents so that they can travel and go see the world. She wants a house in Hawaii because she lives in Chicago, so that it's not so she can go there during the winter. She wants to have $10 million in investments by 2033. I want to help raise 100 orphan children per month for 18 years, etc. So that's another example. Or you can make it just simple, like Brian. Brian says he wants to pay off his debt, make $1 million, and help other people. So that's what he wrote down. So that on a personal side, okay? And one last thing, and then I know it's a really long answer to the question, but so that is on a personal side how you have to overcome the ownership and the responsibility. But on a team member side, there's one list my dad wrote down a long time ago, and he said it in Vegas a few years ago. I don't know if any of you remember, but it hit me, John, so hard when he said it that I memorized it till today. He talked about the 10 stages of winning. And number 1 is fail. Before you win, you actually fail first. But usually when people fail, they blame. It's never their fault. So when they blame, they become doubtful. And that's actually the most dangerous stage that you can be in. Most people quit at number 3. Some of Survivor will get to number 4, which is realize. You'll realize that you can keep complaining and nobody cares. You keep blaming your upline, you keep blaming your downline, you keep blaming your spouse, you keep blaming your kids, you keep blaming the dog. You blame everything. Oh, if only I had a Filipino team, I would explode. Oh, every year is a different culture based on who's on stage. Right? One year you want the Chinese team, next year you want Filipino team, the year after that you want African team, and then you want the Indian team, you want everybody. It's always there is because you don't have a good team member. Or if I had a better office, or if we had the Saving Your Future book in my language. 4 language is not enough. I need 10 language. I need it in French and, whatever, Yugoslavian, blah, blah, blah. Everything is blaming, and you realize you can blame all day long, but then why are people still winning? So maybe you realize that nobody cares about your complaining. Then you might get to survive mode. That you just do the business enough to survive. Like maybe Twin, you're just happy at 100,000, Okay? So you survive, but really you only can overcome if you get to 6 and beyond, which is, number 6 is, hold on. Hope. You go to convention, you see somebody, you're like, oh, they talk like me, or they look like me, oh, that's a program I can do. You start to have hope, but it doesn't mean you might win yet, because you need to have focus. Unless you focus, then, and always what? You have to stay positive. That's the best stage to be. So the worst one is doubt. That's the most dangerous one. But the best one is positive. Then you can start winning. But wait, that's number 9. You said 10 stages. You know what number 10 is? Either you have 2 choices. If you stay positive, you will stay dominant. You have to dominate. You have to become so big. Because you know how many times you go to convention and number 1 was number 1 last year, but then you don't see them around anymore. So you have to become so big that you dominate, or some people will become complacent. Because that's all you needed, right? All you needed was a title. All you needed was your SMD promotion. All you needed was that cash flow. And if you become complacent, you will go back to... So actually, it's not 10 stages of winning. It's called the rubber band of success. Because you know how many people, they just start to focus, but then they hang out with the doubters, and they become like that. Just like some people said that they admitted, right? Like Danny admitted that he wasn't buying into GX program in the beginning. Maybe he would listen. Maybe he had doubt. He's listening to doubters. So right now, Danny is partially in the between 7 and 8. Let's see if he can stay there. But if he hang out with the people in the parking lot, he can easily go back over here. Right? So, anyways, that is my story, or that is my answer. I'm sorry, it's a really long answer to how to take responsibility.
That was not only a great answer, it was very informative. Where was she like that? Swan, you want to add anything there?
Okay, that thing, can I sum up whatever she said about your question? To me, I don't think you ever be in business until, and I talk about full time. I mean, I love part time. Be part time as long as you want. Don't go full time until you're ready to do this. If you ever go full time, I'm not respect you. I don't think I don't think that you really understand the business. You only own your business. You're only for real when you go full time and you show up 8 o'clock in the morning. You have an office and you have a staff. If you don't do that, I don't think you're serious. Some of you may have staff, may have an office, but you don't show up. It's a monkey business, you know. So if you cannot reach to that minimum stage of being able to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you don't sit in your office at 8 o'clock, you have no business. And you don't have a staff who will do the little thing for you. You're not here to do underwriting, you're not here to do paperwork, or you do crappy thing. You have not only one staff, you have several staff, but you have to start with that minimum. There is something, Morris, I think, I get out of this whole thing, I say this, he have that mindset. there is something sacred and powerful and incredible in a person when you have a clear purpose, like you wake up and you go to the office and you read into your statement, because you got to define your purpose today, and you have to remind yourself why you're here this morning at 8 o'clock morning, and you sit there and you own the word. You own your word in a lonely moment of your life. At 8 o'clock, you're here with your big mission, your big goal, with an emotional goal. The goal is so emotional, it's so powerful that anytime you look into it, you feel emotional. So don't have a goal, have an emotional goal. Because that's the reason that you're going to have motion. Emotion goal will create motion. And you feel strongly about what you do. So that is a sacred moment at 8 o'clock morning when nobody around, because you're the man, you're the woman, you're the boss, you are the entrepreneur, you are the champion, you're the big guy, and you own you. That part is you. You don't show up 9, 10, 11 and running like a chicken without egg. Your first half an hour of your day, you own it. You gotta spend the first half hour of your day to fix the other 23 and a half hours. So you know today, this is why you're here, and you start beginning to look at people in your team. You look at those bubble charts, they no longer just bubble. You look to the guidebook. You look to everybody in that book, and you know that you can change those people's lives. I mean, a long time, we always thinking the crusade in this business that we got to give them a wonderful product so that they can be able, in case something happened to them or they die, this thing going to live with family. That is true. That's how I started business. But you know what? Our true crusade is, like John Pham. You've been selling for like 20, 30 years, nobody died. Your true crusade, there's a lot of people living right now, but they're dying right now. Yeah. They're dying in desperation, dying of hope, dying of marriage problem because of financial problem. They dying of lack of dignity. They die of have a poor job that nobody looks up to them. Dying about people in the family that never respect them. They die about having a chance in their life. To me, that's the real crusade. So you go out every single day. The big crusade is in this room. You are my crusade in you guys. And we are the biggest crusade is here. How about a woman who because all the family, the husband look at her, and the in-law with her, the mother don't believe her because for whatever she born, and so she raised up, and everybody expect her to be just a housewife, didn't know that she have a dream too. How about that incredible guy, they have big dream, whatever, they want to conquer the world, but they're still stuck in a social worker job in a cubicle. To me, that social worker dying inside every day for the 10 years. You don't have to wait for people who have cancer. We have people right now with their illness of their dream, illness of they have cancer of their soul. I mean, they have tormented in their head with all those things. And we can offer people that. And this is our crusade. So all the reasons you put down there, I mean, what about being able to make your family proud? How many father and mother out there just dying to do something with a kid and have no means to do it? You know, any one of you want your kid proud of you? Your mom and dad proud of you? Would you like to do something, you buy a mom a house, or you take your mom in a trip around the world to pay them what they've been done for you for years? How you know, a best lesson for your kid is not giving the whatever, but can, or just work hard all day long. The best version of you to your kid is that you win. So, you gotta have that emotional goal, something that really touches your heart. And then at 8 o'clock you begin to start with an incredible power inside of you, and then you begin to look over the chart and walk your day. And you know today you're gonna make something happen. You're gonna change some people's life today. You're gonna take that person out of the cubicle. You'll visit somebody tonight, and because of your belief, they believe in themselves. So, I know we run out of time, but I have a couple of points I want to say, so thank you for asking. So I say thank you for interview. But they now ask me, can you talk about, what about GX if we have people who are not licensed? So I answer quickly for that because some of you are going to work out here with the clarity on that. Let's say Alicia is my MD and I'm an SMD. And she recruit Armando is a brand new rep coming in. And Armando have no license. Right? And he do 350. So now he have no license. Alida do 315. So the 350 will be counted for Armando even though he's not licensed. Follow me so far. What about Alicia? So Alicia, we can count 15K because she's the one who do 350. For him, but only count 15 because the 3 recruit is for Armando. So if Alicia want to get a shirt 350, she have to do 3 personal recruit outside of Armando. Follow so far? Yes. That's one. What if Alicia and I jump down and split? She trained 8,000. I trained 7,000 Armando. So then Alicia only get 8,000 points. She still have to do other 7,000 points and 3 recruit for her to get 350. Follow so far. Or if a sideline match up and do that 7,000, Alicia do 8, John Pham is another trainer, he get that 7,000 points. All right? So those are, so does that answer your question?
Yeah, Armando always gets 15.
Armando always gets 50 because that's his sales. Got it? So what if Armando next month he begin to have a license? Okay? Now he bring in another 15,000. Now he have a license, he can write 10,000. But as a case that he need John Pham or Alicia help. Right? So he do 10,000 himself. So the other 5,000 sell, he needs somebody help. So let's say John Pham come in. Help write that app with him. John Pham can split with that. So that 5,000, Armando gonna get 2.5, which means you end up with 12.5, and John Pham gonna get 12.5. But actually, he get 12.5 on the computer, but we still count him that 15K because the 5,000 still belong to him. Yeah, he's the one who originate that style. You follow me? So what belongs to Caesar is part of Caesar.